श्यामलावर्तालिबाला समेत श्रीललिताम्बिकायै नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। बलिप्रिया भाषारूपा बृहत्सेना भावा अभाव विवर्जित सुकाराध्या शुभकरी शोभना सुलभा गतिः. So Balipriya, she likes Bali. The use of word Bali, I think we need to clarify some myths here. Whenever we use the word Bali, the thing that comes to our mind is animal sacrifice. That is done by some followers of a particular deity. Generally, animal sacrifice. So, if you take the animal out of it and just retain the sacrifice there, that is Bali. So, if you take Bali Chakravarti, the Mahabali, the Daitya king, who Vamana Avatara Vishnu seeks 3, feet of land. Bali gives so with 1 foot he takes the earth, and with the other he takes the Akasha, and with the third he wonders where. And then Bali offers his head, right? And he is sent to Patala Loka. He is imprisoned actually. Bali is imprisoned because he is not able to offer the 3rd foot land. And once in a year he comes out, and actually he will be the future Swargadipati. That's one of the varas that Bali gets. So if you look at the word Bali there is the example of how, even though he knows that Sriman Narayana has come in Vamana, he considers it as his bhagyam to give everything that he's got. He is prepared to give it, right? Tyaga Arpana, that is Bali. So the word Bali Priya here is not material object, to give something material object like an animal. You're not giving that as a sacrifice here. The real Bali here is giving up your ahankara, mamakara. That is the biggest sacrifice you can give to Devi Lalita. Aham is I and mama is mine, which is I and my. Aham and mama are the 2 biggest enemies, which is blocking your route to moksha. So if you sacrifice that, give that aham and mama to her, or you give up aham and mama, that is the greatest Bali you can give to her, and she is fond of that kind of Bali Priya. So every moment of your life, you come across a situation in your life where that aham feeling comes within you, that I am so and so with so much knowledge, wealth, or whatever. Or mama is like my whatever, my property, my wife, my son, my daughter. That mamakara should go, and you should see everyone with the same bhava. That is the greatest Bali. And then you have Naivedyam. So there is something called as Bali books or Bali Devatas. So when you do the Naivedyam, whatever it be, to the goddess, there will be lots of so you got Stula Prapancha, you got Sukshma Prapancha. So Stula Prapancha is what you see with your eyes or perceive with your ears. Whereas in Sukshma Prapancha, that you can't see, there are lots of souls that are around, stuck between. They don't have the Stula Sharira, and they are waiting for an opportunity to take some of the Naivedya that you're given to the god or goddess, because they want to also improve their status around their spiritual journey or get rid of their papa. So when you are doing Naivedyam, there are Bali, the souls around that want to take that thing. Therefore, the small portion of your Naivedyam should be given to this Bali books in a copper pot. Right? That is Bhuta Bali. Lots of Bali Devatas there. And I'm sure when you visit temples, you will see the Bali Pitam. And when they do the Naivedyam to the main deity, you can see them going around these Bali Pitas and giving the Bhuta Bali. So if you have attended the Chandi Homam in your life, for tamasic deities, the Ugra forms of goddess, they give different types of Bali. Here we are not talking of Jantu Bali or animal sacrifice. We are talking about fruits. Here we talk of Kushmanda Bali, which is, I'm sure you have heard of Kushmanda. I think I'm thinking of an English word for that. I'm talking about pumpkin, white pumpkin, Kushmanda. That is Kushmanda. White pumpkin, that is Kushmanda Bali. Then you have got Narikela Phala, which is coconut. And then you got Ikshadanda or sugarcane. And then you got Shripala. So white pumpkin, coconut, sugarcane, cucumber, unripe banana, and lemon, of course. So these are all the items that are used in Chandi Homa to give the Bali to the Chandi Devi after the recitation of each chapter. So that is Bali Priya. So she likes that Bali Priya. Bali Priya Bhasha Rupa. So the next name is Bhasha Rupa. What is Bhasha? Bhasha is language. So language, what is language? Language is, so you need to go back to those names: Para Pratyakchiti Rupa, Pashyanti Paradevata, Madhyama Vaikari Rupa, Bhaktamanasa Hamsika. The formation of speech and how Vaikari, or the sound that is generated from the voice box, and then the language. So the Matrika Varna Rupini. So Bhasha Rupa. So she is in the form of language. And language, of course, is an important thing for communication between human beings. So the Bhasha here, apart from the fact that you talked of language where orderly or the letters are put in a particular order, which means then there's a meaning associated with that particular word, and that is used for the communication between human beings. But if you take all these bijaksharas like Hreem or Kleem, they are also words. They are also letters that come from the voice box. They do not form part of a language because we don't understand the meaning of Hreem or we don't understand the meaning of Kleem. But she is also Bhasha Rupa. So those words or bijaksharas also Bhasha. So she is in the form of that. So all languages another Rupa. So not necessarily Sanskrit or Indian languages. All languages is Bhasha. She is in that form. So Bhasha Rupa Brihat Sena. Again, Brihat is great, mighty. Sena is army. So she's got army of mantra shaktis. And there are, of course, Saptakoti Veda mantras. So you got 7 crore Veda mantras. It's a Brihat Sena refers to that. You got 64 crore yoginis. Maha Chatushushti Koti Yogini Ganasevita. Right? That is our Sena. Akshobini Senas. And then you have mantra devatas like Shamala, Vartali, Ashwaruda, Sampatkari, Titinitya devatas. They are also Brihat Sena. Bhasha Rupa Brihat Sena, Bhava Abhava Vivarjita. Bhava is existence, Abhava is non-existent. So for us, what exists is something that's got a name and form, Nama Rupa. Abhava is non-existence, which is difficult, but it's difficult to say that she doesn't exist. Right? To say somebody doesn't exist in itself contradiction, because you are referring to that somebody who doesn't have a name or form, and that name or nameless or formless is the abhava there. Bhava is something that exists. So if you go back to that name, Bhavani Bhavana Gamya Bhavaranya Kutarika, the word Bhavana Gamya there means that she is reachable through imagination. Bhavana is what? Bhavana is imagination. So you need that bhavana, imagination, or bhava is necessary for us to reach her. And there are different ways we do that bhavana. Starting, we do using a portrait of Lalita Mahatripura Sundari. We imagine her with name and form, and then slowly we move on to the mantras where we concentrate on the sound vibrations, and then slowly you look at observe your breathing prana. You look at Amsini form of her, and then eventually when you go into deep meditation you look at her in the Jyoti Rupa. So that is Bhavana Gamya. So Bhava Abhava Vivarjita means essentially she is beyond that Nama and Rupa, and she is not like us with all the shortages in terms of features, like we are all limited by birth, death, disease, old age, etc., etc. So she is free of all those things. Bhava Abhava Vivarjita. Sukaradhya. Sukha Aradhya. Sukaradhya is easily worshipped. Sukha Aradhya. So this name falls in that sequence of Bhaktigamya, Bhavanagamya, Sukaradhya, Dhyanagamya. So Sukha Aradhya means when you are doing the upasana, puja, or chanting of Lalita Sahasranama, you should be in a happy state. So you should feel happy when you are doing the puja or chanting. So the state of mind is important when you are doing puja. So even if you spend 5 or 10 minutes in front of the goddess, your state of mind should be free of all worries and should be in a happy state. Your mood should be great, not in an angry, agitated, irritated state. If you are in an irritated, angry state, we should not bother to do any puja or chanting. So when your mind is calm, that is when you should do the puja. So, and you should do that puja with love, and you should do that puja with devotion, that you are in front of your mother. So imagine your behavior in front of your mother. That's the behavior we want here. That love, affection should come out, just like how you would give that love and affection to your, when you talk to your mother. That is the feeling with which you should do the puja here. So some people are pressed for time, so they kind of dedicate 10-15 minutes, and within 10 minutes they want to read the entire whatever x number of shlokas, do blah blah blah, and they are in a hurry, perennial hurry, to finish the puja or the chanting and then run from there into the worldly affairs. Now that is not Sukha Aradhya. So never do puja or never sit and communicate with the goddess under compulsion. You sit and converse with your great mother when you are in a peaceful state with lot of love and affection. And there is nothing that we can give to her that she already doesn't have. I repeat, there is nothing that we can give to her that she doesn't already have, when in fact the entire Brahmanda is she. So if there is nothing that we can offer to her, then what is it that she is interested in from us? She is interested only in our love, affection, dedication, devotion, bhakti, bhavana, shraddha. That is all she is interested in. That is the only test there is. Here comes the devotee, is sitting in front of me. Okay, what are you doing? You are chanting Lalita Sahasranam. Thak, 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 thak. Done. Dusted. One dhoop, one deeparti, and gone. And then, of course, she'll be wondering, where is this fellow's mind when he was chanting? It was in the next act that he was, I don't know, he's going down. He or she needs to go down, cook for the kids, or look at bank account of his. So the point I'm trying to get at is your state of mind. Sukha Aradhya means you have to do the chanting or any kind of upasana or puja with that Sukha in you. Sukha Aradhya. She is easily worshipped. So if you actually go to Sri Chakra Puja, the initial few deities we do the puja, and one of them is Asantika Devi. Asantika asita lape matangi paricharike mama vigna apadam nasham. And then there will be some words come after that. So she is Asantika Devi, Asantika Hasita Lape, Matangi Paricharike. Matangi is Mantrini Devi, Paricharike. So she is in that group of Parivara Devatas for Matangi Devi, and she is Hasanti. Hasanti is to laugh, smile or laugh. So when you sit for puja, that smile is an indicator of a state of mind that should be there when you do it. So she is easy to worship. She doesn't want anything from you, material things. So, and you can worship her without any sampad. So all, yata shaktihi, yata sambhava dravyehi, yata gnata vidinaha pujan karishye. So essentially you are essentially doing the puja with whatever you have. So getting Bilva Patram is a big challenge for us, right? So if you acknowledge that fact to her, that's fine. So Prema Bhava is what she is interested in. So she is not interested in any padartha that you're going to give her, be it flower, coconut, banana, etc. So she's all interested in the bhava with which you give and the love in it. And finally the Antaryaga, Antarmukha Samaradhya, right? Daraho Yaga Kramaradhya. So slowly from outer worship you should go towards inner worship. that is Sukha Aradhya. Bhasha Rupa Brihatsena Bhava Abhava Vibhajita Sukharadhya. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.